Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Ramblings from Two Meddling Kids. I'm Edward Hunt, joined by my fellow co-host.
Oh, now I'm
yeah, he's co-host now.
Now it hurts. Mike Cunningham.
There he is, and we are the Meddling Kids. And today we will be reviewing Killers of the Flower Moon. For those of you joining us for the first time, welcome. It's great to have you here. For those of you who've come back, hey. Long time no see. We will never spoil anything in the movie for the first 15 minutes. We'll give you a spoiler-free review from 0 to 5. From there, we'll give you some background on the movie. Then we'll give you more of the play-by-play where we start spoiling things and our thoughts while we watch the movie. But, Mike, are you ready?
I am.
Okay. 0 to 5.
I give this one a 4.
4, okay.
I feel like, it's Martin Scorsese, so shot very well.
Mm-hmm.
I think my only gripe with the film is it seemed too long.
Fair, okay.
And it was like one of those, and I've spoken about this before with like, there's nothing wrong with a long film if you feel, if every moment on screen is like, there's a purpose for it, type of thing. So it's just like, I thought when I watched Schindler's List, like it was a 3.5 hour movie as well.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm like, Jesus Christ, way too long. But watching that movie, I never felt that 3 hours.
Yeah.
Like it was like that's not even an action packed film at all, right? It's a historical one. But with that film, is like every single minute was like, there was a purpose to it. There was a reason why you're watching this type of thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like with Killers of the Flower Moon, there was certain scenes that lingered on too long. It seemed kind of like a weird, awkward silence. It was like he just didn't know when to call cut, type of thing.
Fair, okay.
But that's my biggest gripe. But I think the storytelling was great. Obviously, the performances, you're going to get great performances out of Leo. Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
It was shocking to see like Brendan Fraser in there. I think.
Absolutely.
Lily Gladstone was amazing. Like the performances were great. The cinematography was great. I think the story was interesting.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like oh god damn it. I can't think of it, but it was like
You'll come back to it.
Yeah. But I think this project was important to Martin, and you can definitely see that.
Definitely.
Yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed it. I think my only issue was just the runtime.
Fair.
And not every scene being like kind of worth it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 4.
Cool. 4 to 5 from Mike. I'm also giving it a 4 to 5. I thought it was very good.
Vanity Project, boom.
Vanity Project, got you. See, as soon as I started talking, I was like, he's going to get it. But so yeah, 4 to 5 for me. Even length-wise, I wasn't too hard on the length because there was so much unsettledness of it. I think that's really what he was trying to go for from like a pacing perspective, and I saw that there were times where I'm just kind of like, okay, how much longer is this movie going to be?
I think when I talk about somebody else mentioned too, it was like there was just certain scenes where it was just like call cut like a minute late before that or something. So that's what I'm saying. But if you have a bunch of scenes like that adds to the runtime. Yeah. So it's like like I said, it was like I have no issue with a longer film. But it was just like there was just certain like you could have cut it off a little bit earlier.
I agree with that. And then my biggest gripe with the movie is like the time was weird. Like so they like skipped months or years like that. Like all of a sudden you're just like, wait, okay, so that happened and it feels like it's tomorrow, but no, technically this is 2 years in the future because now there's kids. And it was like, when the hell did they have kids? Like, oh, okay. And then you're like, oh, this must have also been on the future. It's like, nope, that was like a week ago. And I was like trying to keep track of like the timeline of the movie.
I guess that can be frustrating too, right? Because you like at least a time card or something that says it, but like just to adjust to it in that moment.
Exactly. Whenever there was like a big scene change, I wasn't sure if it had been like a month, a year, the next day sometimes. So that was my biggest gripe with the movie. It kind of left me like confused. But yeah, I would say it's an unsettling movie.
Oh, of course.
While you're watching it is unsettling, and it's just you look at the characters because I had to. When I was first done watching this movie, I actually was giving it lower than I'm giving it right now. But then I just thought about it and reflected on it a little bit, and I was like, oh no, I'm giving it this because at first it was like maybe a 3.5, but I was like, no, I'm giving it that because this movie kind of unsettled me and made me like a little like on edge. So I was like, but when I actually like thought about it, I was like, oh no, that was done on purpose. That was very effective. 4 to 5. Performance wise across, everyone did phenomenal. It was just a very solid movie with a very like powerful message, and just seeing like history, and like makes me want to read the book, and just to see like how, without getting like too political with everything, but to see like this is 1920s. Here is a population, like a minority population that has come into a vast amount of wealth, and then now you have a bunch of white people trying to do whatever they can to get it, and you're like, yeah, that's literally throughout all of American history. That's American history right there. So it was like, well, all right then. But yeah, very good movie. I'd say see it. It is long, so you might need to invest a little bit of time with it.
But luckily, like I think at this point it's already on Apple Plus. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I'm sorry, Apple TV. But I don't have the wealth to.
I use my grandmother's because there you go. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just something that I would say see it in theaters, but it is at home now, so that does also.
If you want Martin Scorsese to thank you personally, you got to see it in theaters. So he thanked me personally.
Are they still doing that?
Yeah, me and my boy Marty now. All right,
we're kind of like the last time I saw it was with you, maybe Dungeons and Dragons and some stupid shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
and it was Dragons. They were like thank you, and you took it personally.
Oh yeah, I was like, yeah, that's right. Thank me. I'm the fucking hero.
It was like the PBS. It was like brought by and viewers like you. And I'm 4 years old. Like you talking about your boy?
This is why I like to watch Sesame Street. I answered every question in Dora.
I did this for you, Arthur.
Yeah, exactly. Blue's Clues. They wouldn't have found those clues without me. All I'm saying. But yeah, definitely worth seeing. All right, let's get some background of this movie. There's a lot of no names in this one, right? A very unknown director, actors.
I mean, newcomers.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right, so Killers of the Flower Moon came out on October 20th. I apologize. 2023. The runtime is 3 hours and 26 minutes. The budget was $200 million, which was shocking. Jeez, fucking
that is a very high budget. It's because they probably paid all the actors so much.
There's that, and also it was shot during a pandemic, so I feel like there's a lot of possible pandemic restrictions.
Okay, yeah.
With having to pay for like testing and.
Gotcha. Because I could see that movie not costing that much at all. Like, right? Yeah.
As of right now, the box office is $88 million.
That's rough.
Which is interesting. So like. Just a segue, whatever, but like Five Nights at Freddy's did the dual release, right? It went to Peacock and theaters the same day. Yeah. And still made $78 million in the first weekend.
Yeah. Well, it's a horror movie, so you had that. It had like the name recognition of Five Nights at Freddy's.
But that's what I think. That's the only brought that up because of the fact that like this one is already going. I think the plan was to maybe 2 or 3 weeks and then go to Apple TV or whatever. Yeah. But to see that one do the dual, because you would assume it happened with I think Halloween Ends, the same shit. Okay. Yeah. Where it's just like they did the dual release and it messed up the box office for that one. Yeah. Fair. But Five Nights, you're right. I guess there's a little bit of nuance with the built-in the fan base. Yeah. But yeah, so $88 million as of right now at the box office. Rough. The Rotten Tomatoes is a 93 for the critics and 85 for the audience. The genre is crime, drama, history, and Western, apparently. I mean, it's 1920s. It's very Western-esque. The director is Martin Scorsese. I mean, everybody knows who. My boy Marty. He thanked me. So I had a whole list of movies like Taxi Driver, Raging Bull. Yeah, it's Martin fucking Scorsese. Yeah, exactly. Come on. The cast is Leonardo DiCaprio as Ernest, Robert De Niro as William, Lily Gladstone as Molly, Jesse Plemons as Thomas, John Lithgow as the prosecutor, I apologize. Oh, okay, yeah. Tom Cardinal as Lizzie Q, I believe that was Molly's grandmother. Yep, yeah, Lizzie, yeah. Liz. Brendan Fraser as Hamilton, and Cara Jade Myers as Anna. I think that was one of her sisters. Yes, that was one of the sisters. Yep. Yeah, and I think I heard that they really tried their best to like have like Native American really just like really in this movie, which was good. Yeah. But yeah, that's the information. Cool, perfect. All right, so before we start hopping into plot summary, play-by-play of this movie, a quick word from our sponsors. So, Edward Hunt here. I'm a member of, I'm a real estate agent on the Just Be team with Compass, all about finding you where you're meant to be. We are located in the DMV, that is DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So if you need advice on the market, some phenomenal contractors, or some phenomenal lenders, feel free to hit me up anytime and I can get back to you. Also from there, Compass is a nationwide brokerage, so no matter where you are, even if you're in Oklahoma,
right? This movie took place in Oklahoma? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. I know things. Even if you're in Oklahoma, I can find your real estate agent out there as well. Also, Hunt Comics. As you all know, I'm writing comics. Issue 1 is up for free on Global Comics. It's gotten some pretty positive reviews from friends who aren't going to, hurt my feelings, so that's always nice. But, would still love for you to check it out. And my artist is working on issue 2 right now. Yeah. All right, so let's get into this movie. So as I said, we're in Oklahoma, all right? 1920s. Stuff's happening.
Yeah, so it opens with some Osage elders burying a ceremonial pipe.
Yes, yeah.
I think they were saying like they were mourning the assimilation of their people to the white American ways.
Yeah, basically all their descendants, they're very upset that with all the influx of white people, that like all of the Osage youths and youngsters are just, their culture's dying.
Yeah.
Their culture's going away now because it's kind of like meshing in with the white culture that's there. Yeah. And then so they're losing their ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then shortly after we see that they discover oil.
Yeah, so they're like burying the pipe and all of a sudden like oil just bubbles up out of nowhere. And at first I was like, they're just wasting all that oil. And that's like, my thought is like, that oil is worth money, y'all.
You're gonna get stains.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm like, hey, they're dancing in it, it's all over their chest. I was like, you're wasting so much oil, get the buckets. Yeah.
But yeah, so then we jump to see that these Osage people, come into wealth. Like, oil it's what they call it, liquid gold or whatever it is.
Yeah. For the record, black gold.
Black gold.
Yeah. But
liquid gold is Velveeta, sorry.
Yeah, which is equally delicious. And it's Velveeta and oil, they taste very good. Yeah. But no, I thought this was kind of interesting and funny. Is like literally they were just having a ceremonial pipe about like, oh, we're losing our ways, all this. Then all of a sudden they get oil, and all of them are driving cars and dressing in suits, and you're like,
it's like, man, fuck those white people. Wait a minute.
Wait a second. I have money now. Interesting. They changed hardcore on it. Like obviously
the money, the root of all evil.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because like they did a quick 180 right there.
But yeah, so now we see that they get fancy clothes and cars, and like now they have this wealth because of the discovery of oil.
They have like white people as their chauffeurs and like opening doors and like their nurses and everything too. Yeah.
So I think it's 1919.
Yeah.
We get Leo's character Ernest. He's a veteran of World War One.
Yep.
He comes to live with his brother and uncle.
Yeah, brother Byron and Uncle King or William King. Yeah. So I want to know, how does Leo make his face like that? So the entire time he has this like permanent frown on his. I don't know how to make that with my face.
Yeah. So like he was supposed to be. Who was he supposed to be?
Oh, like the FBI agent, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But he kind of backed out because he wanted to. Maybe more of a challenge.
Yeah. Well, I think that, and also like the FBI agent who I'm blanking on.
Jesse Plemons.
Yeah, Jesse Plemons. Yeah. He's a lot younger.
Yeah,
I think that was.
That was the thing too with Robert De Niro. Like he was 40 years older than the guy he was supposed to be playing.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but I think it's just interesting. I guess like Leo does, like I said, he just enjoys the challenge of acting.
No, absolutely, right? For sure. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio is a phenomenal actor, and he's just, it's whatever he does, it seems like it's going to be very well.
Yeah. Because I think we were talking about Daniel Day-Lewis. I think Leo's another one that is very, I guess, selective about his projects.
Yeah, not as selective for sure.
Not as, but it's very much like there's a certain care, passion that he takes.
Definitely.
So he comes, and this is where you can start kind of taking over.
Sure, yeah.
But he comes, he greets his brother and his uncle.
Yeah, so greets his brother and uncle, they start talking, just kind of talking through everything. His uncle's, they're catching up, asking what he feels about women, and then it kind of has that very not subtle shift of the uncle's like, how do you feel about red women? And you're like, okay, uncle. And so he's like, since how it works, like, since they found oil, all of the Osage people, they have like oil rights and they get like money. So I think there's something with guardianship and other things where,
it was like super weird. Like even though they owned it, there was a certain the government that had guardianship over.
Government wants its piece, and no matter what you do, government wants its piece.
Yeah,
the government wants a piece of your paycheck. They want a piece of whatever you buy, et cetera, et cetera. But so they wanted their piece. So there's guardianship. But even with all of that, it's still the Osage people, so they still have a ton of money. Yeah. So then there's this whole thing where if you marry into the family...
Yeah, so this is where you get the I don't want to call it mixing, that sounds so dirty. Yeah. But that's what King's plan is, right? So like Robert De Niro's character, William Hale, I believe.
Yep, William King McHale,
Yeah. he poses as friendly, but his goal is to basically take over the rights of all this oil.
Yeah.
And he's very, I guess, maniacal and he's very planning. So rather than just outright trying to take it, he befriends the people, learns the language.
Yeah.
He helps them out, right? But in that same, it's like he's smiling in your face and stabbing you in the back.
Absolutely. And it was so well done here because in the beginning of this movie, I wasn't sure how scummy he was. I was like, okay, so there's a little bit of scumminess going on, but like, how scummy is he?
I think that's what's interesting too. Like, I was watching something earlier talking about Martin Scorsese's movie and his portrayal of quote unquote protagonists, right? Oftentimes, you talking about Goodfellas, Casino, even The Departed, Wolf of Wall Street, Gangs of New York,
they're
whatever.
Bad people. Yeah.
They're basically antagonists, but the way he tells the story, like you kind of root for them. But this one is like very different.
Yeah, I could not.
At the end of the day, like you really want, like even with and we'll talk about later how Ernest gets involved with the Osage people. You just like you want to root for him, hoping, but it was just like. No, this one's very different than his other portrayals of his main characters.
Yeah,
that's what it's like. You got to call them main characters, not even protagonists.
Yeah, 100%.
Usually that's the thing when you're telling a story.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that's a great point. If instead of calling them the protagonist or the good guys, it's just, this is just who we're following. Yeah, and then we follow. And
it's an interesting way to tell a story.
Absolutely, because it's very interesting, very entertaining.
But yeah, sorry to go back. William talks about, do you like red women? Basically, so he has, this is the mixing where he's getting white Americans to marry.
We're really like his family.
To marry into the Osage, like a lot of the wealthier, like the big names in the Osage family, so that upon their deaths or whatever, he gets to inherit. Their rights.
Yeah, because he also hooks Ernest, Leo's character, up with a chauffeur job. So he's just a taxi. So he's picking people up, and then we meet Molly.
Yeah,
as when he picks her up in the taxi.
I did like this the scene between them because he was like he's talking because basically his uncle told him to get in good with her or whatever. And he's talking to her, and she was like, "You talk too much." Yeah. It's not like it's a car from the 1920s, right? So it's not like a Uber now. There's a bit of space. Literally, she was right behind him.
Absolutely.
And so he's talking to her or whatever. She was like, "You talk too much." Yeah. And he just keeps going. And it was like you can see that charm, even though he's a bit dim-witted or whatever it is. But
he's dumb. But
there's still a bit of charm. So she says something in the Osage language or whatever, and he goes, "That must mean handsome
devil." He's like, "Oh, if you call me a handsome devil," it means coyote. She's calling him a coyote, but he's like, "Oh, is that Osage for handsome devil?"
And I kind of love that. I guess that's their mute cute or whatever it is. But it was just interesting to see his how he got in there.
Yeah, because I think from timeline wise, even slightly before Mikhail kind of told him to pursue Molly, he had already picked up Molly a couple times. Okay, so it was kind of this whole. So then when the uncle was like, "You should marry Molly so we can get their money and stuff," he was like, "Oh, I already kind of met her." Yeah. So you had Ernest was already interested in her before that happened. And don't get me wrong, if his uncle didn't tell him, "Yo, you need to marry this woman for money," would he have married her anyway? I don't know. But there was still some, chemistry before all of that as well. Which when I was going with King, I was like, how much of a scumbag are you? Same with Ernest. I'm like, how much of a scumbag are you?
And really? I think that's what the inner turmoil for this character, right? Towards the end, it was just like, all right, obviously you went in with one plan or one mission or whatever. It was like, are you going to flip? Or...
Yeah. Well, I realized he was a scumbag because right around this time, too, you also see that him and his brother, Byron, and another guy go and just rob Osage people for all their valuables. They just go and mug the fuck out of them. They're just like, hey, give me all your jewels.
He fall into debt, too, because he's a gambler.
Oh, so I'm not sure how much in debt he is, but he does. So you have the scene where, you see all of this, and then he's laying in bed, and then his brother hits him up, oh, come on, time to go. And they literally have masks, and they rob these people these jewels. And then they all immediately go to, the saloon and gamble it, and then Ernest loses everything.
Okay.
And Ernest is like, I love money! And then he just loses it. It's very Wolf of Wall Street, I love money.
Very cocaine on somebody's back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so then they just lose all of it. But throughout all of this, Ernest and Molly keep talking. Molly, it's interesting because Molly kind of knows he's up to something. And even she's talking to his, because it's Ernest is trying. Like, he starts going to church, you know.
I think he starts learning the language too.
Yeah,
like
he starts learning the language and knows everything. And then it's funny, like, there's a church ceremony, and Molly's talking with her sisters, and like the sisters are like, "Is he kind of just after the money?" And then she's like, "Well, of course he likes money, but he's also willing to settle down and like have like a relationship and everything." So it's this weird like, and that was like the entire time of this movie. I'm like, so she kind of knows he's after the money, but she still fully trusts him with everything. And then Ernest loves her, but he's still doing all this fucked up shit. And you're just like, I'm trying to wrap my brain around this.
Well, I think it's seeing people as human. Like, at the end of the day, right? Because so I always have this debate with a lot of celebrities, especially like professional athletes, and it was just like, I don't want to call all of the people that go after them like vultures, but like, you got to be wary of who you actually let around you. For sure. Like, you are a high profile person with like a lot of money and a lot of prestige, whatever it is. How you keep falling for women, you know, usually it's women, but it's like women that literally only see dollar signs. That's what they see you as. Yeah. So it's like interesting seeing Molly have that inkling to know, it's like, no, I obviously realize who I am around here. Like, I'm not just letting anybody in, but also still falling. That's what I'm saying. I really enjoyed the conversation in the car.
Yes.
Because it was like, you could see him breaking down those walls.
100%. Right? They just kind of still were, and even like, you know, she just invites him in for dinner one day, and they're just kind of there hanging out. And like, they have like, it's an awkward chemistry. There's a lot of like kind of awkward silences, but there's still chemistry with it too, which is nice. So so like, they still fall in love and they get married. Yeah. So still get married, stuff is still going. And this is what I was talking about, like, from a timeline perspective. It just kind of rushes through of like, okay, it's been a year, it's been a couple years, it's been no time. I'm trying to follow it, and it's hard to kind of follow. But yeah, so basically they get married. Yeah. So then from there, I'm trying to think of like any other major plot points that really happened along the way. Stuff that keeps happening. You see that one of Molly's sisters dies.
Yeah, so this is where we get William orchestrating a bunch of murders.
Well, so I think before that, though, you still see one of the sisters dies in general. Like, she just dies from like a wasting illness. It looks like William didn't have anything to do with it.
So I thought that was the one where like he had hired her husband to poison her. I thought that's what it was.
There was the Bill guy. Did he hire Bill to poison her?
I thought
it's possible. I don't really remember, honestly. Because also, I guess, slight backtracking is like, you also see in like, they call it Indian County. There's just tons of murders all the time, and like, it's just people get shot. Like, a dude just shoots a woman back of the head, puts her like gun in her hand, and they shoots her in the chest, puts a gun in her hand, and they call it suicide. And you're just like, okay, just left and right, people are getting killed. But so then you have one of Molly's sisters dies. There's this dude Bill, who I did not like Bill at all. He was pretty scumbaggy because he was also just trying to get his own. You know, he was trying to marry into the family for his own money and everything. But so then you just see this orchestration of people just steadily getting killed.
And it's all. I think that's what's interesting about this movie, is like showing how well planned William. Because even with that, it was like, once again, he's integrated into the people where they love him.
He buys stuff for the town.
Anytime there's an actual murder, like, he has an alibi. He's nowhere near it, type of thing.
Absolutely.
But he's, you know, also orchestrating all this. One interesting thing that they did was they mentioned, I think there was like a newsreel or something about the Tulsa riots or whatever.
Absolutely.
Where it was just like they called it like Black Wall Street. And had, like, a bunch of white people went in and murdered the like African Americans in that town. And I think this is when somebody, because it was like, that was also in Oklahoma. So like, so many Osage people see that, they're like, okay, now I'm a little bit worried because that can definitely happen here. Even though, like you said, it was like it was already happening, but it was just like it can like something that like that can definitely replicate it, where like people won't care.
But I mean, at the same time, there was like definitely people won't care that they're in Indian County. There's people just die, they don't care. But then there was like, I think the Osage people, they even like welcomed the Klan in at one point in time. It was very briefly. It was very briefly for like a parade, and they were fine with like the Ku Klux Klan coming through, and like, because they didn't really think of like the Klan was so much against the Osage more. I don't fucking know the history. I guess so just very odd with all of these, you know, race relations.
I think it's also, like you were saying, with I assume Molly was a representation of her people as well. It was just like you're a little bit wary, but also because once again, wealth is new.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So like you get people, you know, you get the wolves coming, you get the foxes coming, you get the coyotes, whatever it is. But it was like people smiling in your face with dangerous intention.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So like she was wary the same way she was wary of Ernest. I think they were all wary of. You know, white people coming in, but it was just also you don't know it, right?
And who they weren't wary of was William King McHale, because he was invited to all their council meetings. He was involved to all the stuff. They all super trusted him. They were all like, "Nope, he's fine. This is great," because he had like befriended everyone so much. But yeah, so then as you were saying, so King has just kind of orchestrated, heck, how are they going to kill everybody?
Yeah.
You know?
I think and then the grandmother passes away as well.
The grandmother passes away naturally.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, they're just dropping left and right. So it was like one sister died, seemed like semi-natural, or I guess she was being poisoned. The other sister, Annie, they have Byron shoot her in the top of the head. That's very obvious. And like, it's interesting, just from like an ensemble style cast, is I guess these are all the people who are working the oil mines and who are working in the oil, and they're cowboys, I guess, because you're just like, there's a lot of rough and tumble characters who you're just constantly meeting, who are just casually talking about, like, yeah, sure, we can kill people. You know what I mean? Like, we'll do whatever we got to do. And like,
well, it's like if it's a lawless time, right? So it's just like there's
the 1920s.
There's no fear of like either. I mean, there might be a little bit of revenge or like, but as far as like the actual law coming to get you, no.
Yeah. I mean, so like Annie gets shot in the top of the head every single time. It's heartbreaking as shit because because you have. You know Ernest is involved with some of these things. You see what's going on. And then Molly is just, why is this happening to me? Oh my God, all these people are getting murdered. At one point in time, they get together for the tribal council and they send this other white guy to Washington, D.C. to be like, hey, we need to get someone out there to actually investigate these murders. And he just gets murdered as fuck. He just gets fucked up. Yeah, like out of nowhere. He's on the streets of D.C. and like he just gets stabbed like that. You have that. After Annie dies, and like, which is also crazy, they literally did like the autopsy right there in front of everybody, and there's just like bone sawing through.
Yeah, so what it was like the I think the coroners or whatever were trying to find the bullet.
Well, they're trying to find the bullet.
Oh yeah,
exactly. But what they were doing was making sure to hide the bullet, so that way they couldn't really find.
Well, no, that's what I mean. It was like they knew how she died. So
everyone's in on this. Like it's nuts.
You saw, it was the judges, the coroners,
all the white people,
the sheriff,
all the white people are in on this shit.
I was trying to get them titles.
Yeah. Like you don't really like. It's crazy because you see all of this stuff going on, but then at the end of the movie when we get there, you see it's like, oh no. All the white people are in on this shit. That was nuts. But yeah, so Annie also hires a private investigator of her own to start investigating stuff, and he gets killed. Yeah, he gets killed and like beaten. And then so then you have the other guy, Bill, who married one of Molly's sisters, but when she died, he then marries the other sister in it, and then but he's all going around trying to find Annie. So maybe he's not so much of a scumbag, but he seems pretty shitty to me for multiple times. I mean, like if you're gonna marry one sister, then marry the other sister. And his words were, "She was a comfort to me in my time of need," and I was like, "Fuck you, man." But you also learn through this whole process, Molly has health problems.
Yeah. So this is I was about to say this is when I think Ernest starts poisoning her.
It's like at first he's not. Because at first she just needs insulin, and because of like.
But I think they had tainted it or something like that.
They do later. So there's insulin coming in at first because the plan really is they need to make sure that Ernest, who is part of King's family, William McHale's family, and Molly, like they need to make sure Molly's the last one left. Yeah. Because now at this point, after Annie's dead too, there's the grandmother, there's Molly, and then Molly's other sister who's married to that guy, Bill. Molly's mother, Liz, dies. Which I will say, on a really cool part, one of my favorite parts of this entire movie is whenever people were close to death, everything got super fucking silent, and then like spectral imagery kind of happened.
It was like being welcomed by the ancestors.
Yeah. Well, even before that, so there's a welcome by the ancestors, and then Liz, the first time when she was truly dying, it was all of a sudden everything went super quiet, and then they're in the same set and same scene, but all the people she's in a crowded room, everyone disappears, and an owl just kind of comes in, and it's just kind of like hooting at her, and then she's seeing it, and then what Liz tells Molly is like, did you see the owl? That's a sign that I'm dying. Then when Liz does die, the same of like everyone's around her and they're very sad and they're crying, and then everything gets silent again, and then her ancestors, it's like 3 Native American ancestors are like smiling and welcome her. So then she, like Liz, the mother, stands up even though she's been super sick, takes their hand and then walks away. Really cool scenes. Happens later. But yeah, so now King's plan is, of everyone, Molly needs to be the last one standing because Molly is married to Ernest, who's part of the family. So at first, they're giving her like legitimate insulin.
Yeah.
And because she has diabetes. And diabetes in the 1920s is kind of like a death sentence.
Yeah.
It's nuts. And the diabetes now, I mean, if you can't afford the insulin, which is this whole other fucking can of worms, is also still awful. But yeah, so they're giving that to her while still making plans for everything. Ernest fucks up one job, what they're trying to get some people killed. Because he's just like, you know, they're going to pay this guy, his nickname is Blackie. He's not black or African American, but they just call him Blackie. But then Ernest, as a way to sweeten the deal for Blackie, is like, hey, how about you steal my car, because that way you can have my car too, and then that way I'll get the insurance payout, and then so he'll get money. Blackie, of course, gets caught with the car. Ernest fucked that up. So then King paddles him. Fucking paddles the fuck out of him. Like, breaks the paddle on his ass. Like, interesting. So then they have to do this whole other convoluted way where they get another guy to, like, blow up the Bill and Molly's other sister. So they plant a bunch of dynamite there and then blow that up. It's around this time, I think, after that blows up, after the other dude went to Washington, D.C., got stabbed and killed, Molly then is still very weak and sick.
But she takes a trip to beat President Calvin Coolidge.
Yeah, Calvin Coolidge. And she then takes a trip to go to Washington, D.C. to get help for the people herself. And then it looks like it falls on deaf ears. It looks like nothing's really going to happen. But it's when she comes back that the doctors that were giving her insulin and King all tell Ernest, hey, start putting this vial of clear liquid into the insulin that you're giving Molly. And then Ernest is like, well, what's it going to do? And it's just, this is why Ernest is fucking dumb.
Yeah.
He's a dumb man. But like,
maybe that, I think that we were talking about the whatever he was doing in his face, I think that was to kind of really hammer in this kind of Neanderthalish.
Yeah. But like, and it's so interesting with all of this is like, because you see, and like, so this is, you know, on a quick pause from what's going on in the movie, and this is why I'm so confused with the movie. Molly sees all of her family dying.
Yeah.
She still somehow trusts Ernest.
Yeah.
She still somehow trusts King, because, I mean, King has known her since she was a little girl. So it's almost like...
But I think, well, that's the thing. He's integrated himself so much, it was like, you would never suspect him.
Yeah.
But everybody, like, not even everybody else, it was just like kind of, I guess, not you wouldn't know who to trust, but it's also like just being, okay, something's not right here.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, hell, even some of the other white people have been like, whoa, you're overplaying your hand there, King. You got to like slow down a little bit in this movie. But yeah, but either way, Molly still loves Ernest and still absolutely trusts him. They have two or three kids. Two, or she might even have the third at this point before she starts getting poisoned. They have like the third. And then Ernest, still for everything, loves Molly. Even though he has steadily killed all of her sisters, everything she's done, and been in charge of all this. But he still loves Molly. And then he's like, when the doctors and King give him this vial, and he's like, well, what's it going to do? And they're like, oh, no, it's just going to slow her down. And he's like, honest, for true, that's all it's going to do? Even though we've killed everyone else, you're not going to kill my wife, right? So it's just going to slow her down? And they're like, yep, just going to slow her down. So then he's like, all right, fine, so I can do it. So then he starts spiking her insulin with this like poison or other stuff in it. But then it's interesting because he knows it's doing some shit.
And I think that's what I was saying as far as the seeing, once again, main character, not protagonist, right?
Yeah.
But it was just like, maybe there's going to be a turn here where it was just like, obviously, he went in as deceitful, right?
Yeah.
But it was like, and I feel like that usually happens with these movies, something like this, right? Where it's like you infiltrate a certain population to gain their trust to ultimately betray them. But it was like, usually that protagonist has a change of heart or something like that in between. Yeah. Probably falls in love. Avatar, Avatar, whatever. Dance with wolves, boom, boom. But I think this one, you assume that was going to be the story here as well.
He's just too stupid. But he's just too stupid to do it. Also, there was, around the same time, too, Molly did have like a first husband, this other guy who was very close with them, but fucking King took a $25,000 life insurance policy out on that guy, and then they hire this other, bandit, oil guy, who goes for the full story, befriends this man, drinks with them, they're hanging out multiple times, like all the time, and you can tell he does feel bad, but he's been hanging out with this man for like a month or two. hanging out drinking, and then he just shoots the fuck out of him, keeps him moving. Also, he does fuck it up because they wanted to make it look like that Native American Jim was going to commit suicide, but because the other guy who they hired was so upset about it, he shot him in the back of the head and took the gun with him. And then now, of course, Ernest was like, "What the fuck? That's not how you're supposed to do this. You're supposed to make him look like he committed suicide." So since that didn't happen, King didn't get his $25,000 life insurance policy, and that was like, "You're going to rue the day." But Molly's poisoned and everything. At this point in time, while they're poisoning her, like, the other sister has been blown to hell, which was a brutal fucking scene of, like, house is gone. You have the husband, who's shouting, "Just shoot me, just fucking shoot me," because he's all burnt and fucked up too. And then you have, everyone gets around Molly's sister, and they pick her, because she looks almost peaceful. Like, she looks like, yeah, she's pale, she's dead, but she looks like peaceful. And then they pick her up, and the camera pans to underneath and looks up, and, like, the back of her head is just completely open and, like, brains leak out. And you're like, oh, no, she's dead as fuck. Yeah. But, yeah, so...
I love the as fuck as a measurement.
Yeah, you can be dead. Sure, anyone
can be murdered. You can be murdered as fuck.
Murdered as fuck. Now, that's a murder.
He's not coming back. I don't...
Yeah, there's no way.
He will not be in the sequel.
Yep, no. But, yeah, so... With all of this, a huge web of intricacy and murders going on. Then the FBI decides to find the show
so it's like, this is after Molly has come. She's visited the president, talked to Congress about.
And she's also just super poisoned, or as I like to say, poisoned as fuck. At this point, she's
so there's this, and then there's this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just super poisoned now at this point in time. Awful, and like Ernest is trying his best to comfort her and like be with her through this while he's continuing to do this. And like even King gives him this BS of like, well, you just she's not gonna be on this world much longer, so just take this time to be with her. Like enjoy the time you have with her.
And I think this goes to the chestnut checkers of this whole situation, right? This is what, 20 years?
Yeah,
maybe more.
Of course. Oh yeah, so King has been in there. Like
that's what I'm. So like the movie, I think. Actually, not even, because Molly dies in 1937, but I don't know how long. Yeah. And this is, we meet Ernest in 1919.
Yes, and this is like 1923, 1921 or something.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Like 4 to 5. I think like 4 to 5 years.
It's still chestnut checkers with this man, as far as like, he could have just killed these people outright. But it was like, no, let's really, like you were saying with the guy that killed Molly's first husband. Yeah. He could have just shot him and kept it moving.
Yep. Yeah.
He literally got
got super integrated.
So that's what I think Williams' plan is like. That's what's crazy about it. Because it was like, I can brute force this, or I can finesse it.
Yep. And he finessed.
And it was like all this shit was. So even talking about like, she's not gonna be here long. Yeah. So be nice to her. Like, gee, how's that's sinister. Like,
he is manipulative AF.
Jesus.
Yeah. But yeah, so so from there, the FBI finally comes. They start questioning. They first show up to Ernest's house, and he's just like super freaking out. And
that's what I think. I remember this. The funniest part of the trailer is he was just like, "I'm here to look into the murders." He's like, "What about him?" Well, to find out who's doing it.
Yeah, he
and I think this is why. I love the trailer, right? Because once again, it showed you so much. But it was just like, even in that scene, I couldn't tell who, because obviously Leo, your biggest names, so like, he's going to like possibly be the main character. But it was like, even then I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
But why?
Yeah.
It's murder. Like, they're dead, you keep it moving.
What are you going to do? You were in Indian County. This is what you do here. Yeah. But yeah, so FBI comes, and then Ernest has no poker face, so he's sketchy as shit. The whole time he's just like, and it's like clearly like anyone who's just met him knows something's up. And that's also how quickly this whole thing becomes unraveled. Yeah. The FBI figures it out immediately, and it's so.
But I think it's because of like going back to Molly and her skepticism of just the Osage people. This is something they never experienced. That's why I was allowed to go. Not allowed, but that's why I went on for so long.
Yeah,
because we got wealth, and I guess with wealth comes death or murder. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But
it was outside of looking in, it was like, no,
something's wrong.
Yeah.
And also I think it's that, and then also it just shows how deeply entrenched all these fuckers are that are like trying to take the Osage people's wealth. Like the regular sheriffs that are there, everyone in that county. And since Indian County, as they call it all the time, they're like, it's almost lawless. Like the federal government and the government has nothing to do with this at all. So like no one is able before the FBI to look on the outside in. And then since they're in this county, they're just like, yep, that's just how it is. But like, and even for all of King's well-laid plans, the fact that the FBI comes and they're immediately like, yep, that's the guy. It's like, okay. So this could have been solved really quickly if it wasn't just so fucking corrupt and so awful, you know, what the people were allowed to run rampant and do their thing. But yeah, so they keep going through. King starts to clean house in like a really cool way with it. Of like everyone that's done jobs for him, he just kind of whispers in their ears. He's like, hey, this bank is going to be, you know, available for you to rob or something like that. He just sets everyone up. So Blackie is with the crew. He sets Blackie up. Blackie gets thrown away in jail for life, which is also kind of a dumb thing. He was hoping Blackie would get killed. But then there's even, you see later on, I'll get back to Blackie. The other guy who blew up all the houses, they have him, he tells him, hey, there's gems in this store. You should go rob it this evening. But then he also tells the owner of the store, hey, I've heard people might be trying to rob your store. You should stay. You should be there this evening to protect it. So then when the guy who blew up the house tries to get in there, the owner of the store, in every right, shoots the fuck out of him and kills him. Yeah.
I love the mastermind.
Yes.
So like criminal mastermind.
Absolutely. He does. It is a very intricate, well-laid plan. Because Ernest goes and is freaking out and is like talking to him after the FBI gets there. And then the Osage chiefs are looking at him. Some of the FBI guys are looking at him. And he is not handling his cool. And then Robert De Niro is like, oh, calm down, grabs him by the ear and like sits him down. He's like, you need to calm down. We are not talking about this now. And he walks away. And everyone's just staring at Leonardo DiCaprio, at Ernest. And he's like, hi, because he's sweating all fucked up. But as everything continues to go, it's very clear what's happening. Ernest himself gets arrested. Ernest, he's hanging out with his kids, who he does clearly love his children. He gets arrested by the FBI, and then they start interrogating him. Well, at first, he's like, no, I'm not going to say anything, etc. But then Blackie comes in, who they took from prison to talk to him, because Blackie was like, fuck, I'm not going to spend life in prison for robbing a bank. I'm spilling everything, because William McHale told me to rob this bank, or told me about this. I'm spilling. So then they confer, and also Blackie tells him, William King McHale, right before he gets arrested too, King makes Ernest sign a paper that says, hey, if you die, and if Molly's dead and you're dead, the head rights to all the oil, the money will stay in the family. So I just need you to sign this paper. And I'm like, do you not see he wants to kill you? I'm like, Ernest, come on, man. Like, clearly the only reason he'd ever have you sign this paper is so he can kill you. But I digress. He still doesn't fully get it, and it's so frustrating. So that was like, I was frustrated with Ernest, and I was frustrated with Molly. But you're right. They're human. They don't want to believe it. Ernest wants to trust his uncle, who's family. Yeah. So, like, I guess I get it, but man, you're dumb. But so they question, and then it turns into Ernest will testify against McHale. So, looking pretty good. They go to court, and then who pops up but Brendan fucking Fraser, everybody. And he is King's lawyer. And man, he's a good lawyer. He's a bad guy, but he's a good lawyer. Because the first thing he says when Ernest gets on the stand is like, I need to confer with my guy. You know, like, I'm representing him. I need to confer. I have not seen him for months. We need to talk. And then the judge is like, is that your lawyer? And Ernest is like, well, no, but I mean, I'll talk to him, sure. So they let it go. And this is where you see that everyone in this fucking town's in on it. Everyone is. They all, you know, there's people who work for their money. Like, there was a scene earlier where, like, the guy who makes coffins. Okay. He was like yelling at Ernest because he was charging Ernest and Molly Osage prices. Ernest was yelling at him because he was charging him Osage prices to bury Molly's sister, which was like $1,600 for the casket, $400 for this. It was an insane amount of money, especially 1920s money. That's ridiculous money. But he's like, why are you charging us Osage prices? And the mortician or the coffin guy's like, well, I have to work for my money. I don't just marry into it. So this whole big thing. But even though, so now you see sheriff, everybody, every like major white person.
Sheriff, the coroners, Yes, I think the sheriff, coroners, the judges.
It's a big, crowded room of all the white people in this town being like, don't you testify against William King McHale. You know, like, think about all of this, what's going on, don't do it. And at first they convince him not to. They convince him not to, and then, you know, he sees Molly, like Ernest sees Molly, And then they get a chance to talk and like be together, and it's a very tender, sweet moment. They still love each other even with all of this going on. And then so then he goes out and says, look, I'm not going to testify. I'm going to say, that the FBI beat me up and tortured me, but I'm not going to testify. But I'll be out in a second because my uncle promised to let me go or get me out soon. Okay. He goes out, tells the FBI he's not going to testify, and they throw him in jail. Cool, he's under arrest. So then you have King and Ernest are like literally a cell apart. Like there's the hallway between all the cell blocks. They're just chilling there. And then they talk a little bit back and forth. And then unfortunately, Ernest's youngest daughter, who had whooping cough, she dies from it. And then the FBI agent goes in and tells him that she died of whooping cough. And Ernest just completely breaks down. And then King has the fucking audacity to cry along with Ernest and like lead him in prayer about his child dying. Like he gives a fuck about this guy. Maybe in some warped, perverse way he does. But
I was gonna say,
I guess
you just never know because he's always calculating. So
right, exactly. But either way, Ernest breaks down. It's a very powerful, emotional scene. Ernest gets a chance to go to the funeral. He sees Molly for a second. She caresses his face, which is kind of like their love language. And then goes. So then after the funeral, Ernest is like, cool, I'm going to testify because I need to get the fuck out of here and I need to take care of my family and my wife, and you're never going to come around my family again. King is like, that's not good. Don't do that. That's dumb. And he's like, I'm going to do it. So then he does testify, and all of this comes out where, all the murders, everything going on, etc., they identify him that way. And right after that scene, boom, 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 boom. Yeah, right after that scene, you have Ernest is sitting in the room. Molly comes in. Molly asks him, hey, are those all the truths? Have you said everything?
Yeah.
And Ernest is like, yep, I've said everything. I'm so sorry for what I did with your family. I'm so sorry. It's a weight off my shoulders. I feel so bad about it. I'm so sorry. And then Molly's like, well, what did you put in my insulin? Or what was in the shots that you were giving me? And Ernest is like, well, insulin was. And then Molly gets up and walks away because
it was like, you told all those truths, but you couldn't be honest.
You can't be honest about this one. And like truly, and this is how much like I was rooting for Ernest in some way. I'm like, tell her the truth, and the truth of this is Ernest had no fucking idea what was in that. All he knows is that King and the doctors were telling him to put it in.
I think that's what's tough, right? Because it is one of those things. Was like he is dumb. Like they just said, it'll just slow her down. All it's going to do is slow her down. But still, like you did it.
And he even as dumb as that man is, he has to know what it really is.
Because it'd be different if you truly thought, like he truly thought, that no, I'm not doing anything wrong.
Oh yeah, exactly. Or like, I'm doing something wrong, but it's not going to kill you or anything like that. But he doesn't even say that. So then she walks away, and this was jarring, but upon reflection, I like it. So she walks away, and all of a sudden, we're now out of this timeline continuum.
Yeah.
And we're in like a weird radio broadcast room. And it's like, what? It's the old timey, like I listen to NPR. So I listen to some of these radio broadcasts on NPR where like, here's the 1930s of how everything's going.
I feel like, didn't they just do that with The Creator? The intro, right?
Yeah, I think a little bit, yeah.
Which is weird because it was in like 2020.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was very odd with this that it happened. So then it turns into this radio broadcast, but real old style of like, here's the people playing instruments and there's sound effects and microphones and everything, and they give you an epilogue, right? Yeah. So you learn that William King McHale was sentenced to life, but he got out in like 47.
They both got paroled. Both Ernest and William got sentenced.
Got sentenced to life.
They both got paroled.
Yeah, but it's still like a while. I think King might have been in jail for longer than Ernest, or so. I can't remember the timeline wise, but yeah, both got sentenced to life. Both got paroled eventually. When
I think Byron, his brother, I think he didn't get.
Yeah, Byron didn't get shit. Yeah. Byron was totally fine. Byron was like just out doing his thing. So when Ernest gets out of prison, Ernest actually moves back to Osage County, Oklahoma, and then lives in a trailer park with his brother, and that's what the ending for him. Okay. William King McHale gets out. The entire time he like is writing letters to the Osage people, being like, "Oh, I'm still your friend. I still love you all so much. I'm so sorry about all this shit that happened." And he's not supposed to go back to Osage County, but he does periodically, and he goes around. The man still has a ton of money, and it's clear that he bribes people to like get out.
Yeah.
Molly tragedy of Molly is she still dies 10 years later from diabetes.
Yeah, well, yeah, she got remarried. And then,
she got remarried and
she died in 1937.
Yeah. 37. So like she still dies from the illness that she had with.
But I mean, at least she survived.
Yeah, at least she survived all of this. But yeah, well, it's just crazy because like with this, I think like just all the health problems that like the Native American people already had, and then obviously besides murder, there's like here's like legitimate health problems that are like actually horrible, and now also there's murder, and you're like, oh, that's just double whammy of terribleness. But yeah, and then so it ends like with the radio broadcast, and I think there's like one more thing that's really quick and brief, but I'm blanking on it now. Yeah, so it was like the radio broadcast for sure, and then you get the epilogue, and then that's the movie. So it was very like. Again, so cool. That's the movie. So let's.
It's crazy because it's a 3-hour movie and it ends abruptly.
It ends
like they were
so abrupt.
Like they were like running out of time.
Yeah, that's what it was. So it was after the radio broadcast. This was cool. They had a drum circle. I don't know if it was of the Osage people, but it was the Native Americans where they had a drum circle and they were like boom, 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 and then the camera slowly lifted and lifted and lifted, and as you saw, there was here like 6 guys around a drum or 6 people around a drum, hammering a drum. Then you have like another group of people around them playing instruments. And then as you go up, you just see people like kind of like dance, walking in a circle, and you keep going up and you just keep getting bigger with this spirally circle of like people in like bright while the drum circles are going. And then that's how it ends. So yeah, it was a very powerful ending. And like now also I'm thinking about it. So that was the movie. Let's talk maybe some specific likes and dislikes again if there's anything we haven't really talked, because I just thought of one for me. So likes of anything that we might not have touched on yet.
No, I think I really enjoyed just learning about this.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing too, right? Like it is something that was not on my radar. So it's nice to learn. And I think it was dope to see him being willing to tell the full story. Like I think so often with biopics or biographies or something with history. Yeah. And Hollywood, I feel like it's usually not a cohesive mix where it's just like you're so eager to put in like sprinkle in facts that weren't there, and it was like, bro, I'm here to be to get information, not to be entertained. Yeah, for sure. So I think I truly appreciate him trying to stick to the facts of this story. Yeah, no matter how brutal they were, whatever it was like sticking to the facts. Yeah, So I think that's just something I really enjoyed about it. And like I said, my only issue was the runtime. That was about it. But yeah, I think so. Actually, fun fact. There was my theater is pretty empty, but at the end there was a woman sitting behind me, and she saw I was taking notes. And then she was like, "Oh, why are you taking notes?" So she and I talked for a while. This was the 4th time she's seen this movie. Jesus. She was actually really fun to talk to, too. She actually subscribed to the channel. So, Jocelyn, I hope you're listening. But yeah, so a lot of fun to talk with her. But yeah, she said it was like the 4th time. And like really, as every time she's kind of watched it, like got more from it for sure. And then we talked about a whole bunch of other stuff, too. But yeah, so it makes you think in a really fun, good way. What I learned from her, though, is that the book is actually all from like the perspective of the FBI agent. So I was about to say that. So the book is literally called "The Killers of the Flower Moon," the killings in Osage County and the creation of the FBI. Okay, or something like that. So that's why not a lot of people, but a few people were curious as to why Jesse Plemons' character wasn't more involved with it. It was mainly just about the murder. But I think I can appreciate that. Yeah, well, because I think Martin Scorsese wanted to have it more from the perspective of like the Native American people. And well, with that, and she had raised a great point herself, was like, yes, it was a lot more from their perspective, but it was also a lot from the perspective of the white guys who were killing everybody too. But still, really cool. I am interested in like checking out the book. I think that'd be a lot of fun. But another I bet this is definitely going to get nominated for an Oscar for Best Sound. I think, so somebody was saying that he'll get Best Director for this. Maybe. Maybe not Best Picture. Best Picture might go to, God damn it, something else. We'll do it. Oppenheimer. Yeah. Oh, yeah, fair. Yeah. But definitely, like, sound on this movie was great. Oh, I don't know. Oppenheimer sound. Come on. Oppenheimer sound was great. They blew your ears up. Yeah, that's fair. But no, the sound here was so good. Maybe Best Soundtrack. Maybe an original song. Something like that. There wasn't a lot of. It was just like the sound design, everything. Because even from like the buzzing of flies. I know, but the only reason I said it because Oppenheimer, that was the whole thing. Oh, for sure. Sound. Yeah, for sure. I feel like that he might get beat out in that. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm curious to see all the nominations for everything. When do they usually come out? I know that usually it's in March, but with the strikes. I thought it's February. Yeah. Oh, sorry. It's February is the actual Oscars? I think, isn't it? Or is it March? I don't remember. I'm not sure. But I feel like everything's a little pushed because of the strikes this year.
Yeah. But yeah, so definitely, from likes again, I think we kind of touched on all of it. It's an unsettling ass movie in a good way.
But I think that's what's, and I talked about this all the time with why Game of Thrones was such a phenomenon for those first few seasons. It's because of the fact that a Western audience is very used to a story with a happy ending.
There was no happy endings here.
So it's just like, no, that's why like you gotta watch like Korean horror or like certain things from like the East where it's just like, no, we don't subscribe to these things. Like sometimes shit doesn't end nice.
Yep, exactly.
Deal with it.
Yeah, deal with it. This is life.
And I think that's what I was saying. I appreciated Martin Scorsese just telling the story.
Yeah, for sure.
He didn't need to wrap it up. It was like, it was nice that Molly survived. It was like there was a lot of death.
There was a lot of death, a lot of tragedy, and heartbreak.
Even her the people that caused all this got out on parole and like lived good lives, like longer than she did.
Exactly.
So it's just like I that's why I appreciated like him just being. I don't want to say bold. It's not that fucking deep, but it was just like telling the story.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
Not glamorizing it for Hollywood type of shit.
Yeah. But yeah, so that is The Killers of the Flower Moon. We always like to review our original rankings at the end. So Mike, you gave it a 4 out of 5. Would you like to change anything?
Nope. You can give it a 4.
Yeah.
Really, really good movie.
Yeah. I'm going to keep 4 as well. I thought it was also very good. I wonder if I could upgrade it to a 4.5. It's a movie that I do want to watch again.
And I think I can appreciate that you're talking about the woman that saw it 4 times. It is something that you do kind of, and that's why I appreciate it going to streaming so quickly. Yeah, because it's something you want to watch, really be immersed in several times.
Absolutely,
because it's not something like I might catch something new type of thing, but it's just like, oh no, this story is so engaging.
Yeah, and just you can sit with it a little bit longer. You can reflect on it a little bit more. You can get more from the story just itself. Yeah, because it's not really going to be Easter eggs, or it's not like who's done it. No, but you're just going to be able to take more from it. So I'm interested in watching it again. So for now, 4 out of 5. Upon a later viewing, maybe I'll give it a 4.5, but probably not going to watch it for a little while either. But yeah, so that is our pod. Thank you all so much for listening. We are the Meddling Kids. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us at 2Meddling on Twitter and Instagram. We also on YouTube. And then if you want to email us, we are 2Meddlingkids@gmail.com. Mike, how can they reach you?
On Instagram at Days from Legendary.
Perfect. And if you'd like to reach out to me, I'm at EdHunt77 on Twitter and Instagram, and Hunt.comics is my comic Instagram page. So we will be back next week with a brand new movie, y'all. See you soon.
Bye.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, God. Yeah.